Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Yesterday we read this seventh verse one more time, which was let's go through the verse one more time and then we'll go to the eighth verse. Yastvindriyani manasa niyamyarabhaterjuna कर्मेन्द्रियैः कर्मयोगम् asaktas savishishyate. Whereas, O Arjuna, the one who, controlling the sense organs with the mind, is unattached and takes to the yoga of action, that is, action performed with yoga buddhi, with the organs of action, is far superior. Before we go on to the further verse, but just do a little recap of what we have started off with. So Arjuna has this question of saying jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana takkim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. 1 second, let me just go to the first verse and just do a little recap of where we are now. So Arjuna vacha jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tatkim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. Arjuna said, if, O Janardana, your contention is that knowledge is better than action, why then do you impel me into this gruesome action, O Keshava? व्यामिश्रेणेव वाक्येन बुद्धिं मोहयसीव मे तदेकं वद निश्चित्य येन श्रेयोऽहमाप्नुयाम्. With words that are seemingly contradictory, you appear to be confusing my mind. Having decided which is better, tell me the one thing by which I shall gain liberation. So to that, moksha is not produced by karma, because karma is a product of ignorance, and using anything that is born of ignorance, you cannot gain knowledge. The nature of knowledge. It is not something that is produced. Knowledge is knowing things as they are. So Arjuna's confusion about knowledge and karma. It seemed to Arjuna that Krishna was saying, knowledge liberates, therefore do karma. It looked as if he was being told knowledge is okay and karma yoga is okay. Therefore, Arjuna was understandably confused by Krishna's seemingly contradictory words. Teacher answers questions. So, teacher should not be afraid to tell a student what is true and what is not true. So, Krishna answers him with Lokesmin dvividha nishta pura prokta maya nagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. Shri Bhagavan said, O sinless one, the twofold committed lifestyle in this world was told by me in the beginning, the pursuit of knowledge for the renunciates and the pursuit of action for those who pursue activity. And both these lifestyles are for Shreyas, that is for moksha. And then we saw how that sannyasa can be taken and from any stage, any ashrama. Then types of sannyasa, Vividisha sannyasa and Vidvat sannyasa. And then how Shankara became a sannyasi, the last ritual of a sannyasi, the purpose of karma yoga. So there is no doubt that karma binds with its limited results. But if you do karma for antakarana shuddhi, for neutralizing your raga dveshas, for gaining the grace of Ishvara, if you perform your prayers, rituals and duties for the sake of these alone, the karma you perform becomes a means, yoga, for moksha. So that's the crux of the karma yoga. And sannyasa is only possible if you have lived a life of karma yoga. Without living a life of karma yoga, if one takes to sannyasa, it is like a hypocrite. So Arjuna was a karma yogi, not a sannyasi. By listening to Krishna, he was pursuing knowledge. There is one para I will read. The twofold nishta is meant for Shreyas, is only for Shreyas. Arjuna wanted Krishna to tell him which one was better. And Krishna replied that one can be a sannyasi or a karma yogi. Both are meant for the same end, moksha, Shreyas. One can live a life of a karma yoga and gain moksha, and one can live a life of sannyasa and gain moksha. The only difference is that for a sannyasi, there is only knowledge, whereas for a karma yogi, there is knowledge and karma. So sannyasi has only one K, whereas karma yogi has two Ks, three Ks actually. Karma yoga, knowledge, karma. Whereas sannyasi is only an S and K. This difference must be understood well because this is where there is a lot of confusion. Arjuna was a karma yogi, not a sannyasi. By listening to Krishna, he was pursuing knowledge. Although grahasthas pursue other activities, they are qualified for knowledge. This pursuit of knowledge plus the performance of karma made Arjuna a karma yogi. If the pursuit of knowledge had not been there, if he had had no discrimination, if moksha had not been the end for him, he would not have been a karma yogi. He would have been a simple doer, a karmi, a karmatha. When moksha is the end in view, then karma becomes yoga because it is done with a particular attitude in order to gain antakarna shuddhi, purification of the mind. In this way, karma yoga is important in gaining knowledge. You can take sannyasa and gain sarva karma sannyasa, or you can live a life of karma yoga and gain the same thing. Sarva karma sannyasa is an end in itself, for which the means is either of the two lifestyles, sannyasa or karma yoga, revealed by the Lord in the beginning itself in the Upanishads. Choice of lifestyle. So here it was like the choice is like asking which is a better way to catch hold of my nose in order to do breathing exercises. Should I take it directly or should I reach it from my head, from behind my head? So then Krishna says, the real meaning of actionlessness with reference to gaining moksha is na karmana manarambha naishkarmyam purushoshnute na cha sanyasana deva siddhim samadhigacchati. A person does not gain the state of actionlessness by the non-performance of activities, nor does the person attain success, liberation out of mere renunciation, sannyasa. So the true meaning of actionlessness is jnanena sarva karma sannyasa. See, only then this is clear. Through knowledge, the doership of the Atma is nullified. Because there is no doership in the Atma, even as one performs action, it is not really being done by the Atma. Only when this is clearly understood is there the giving up of all activity through knowledge, jnanena karma sannyasa. This is what is meant by the word sarva karma sannyasa, which is equivalent to moksha. And why karma yoga is important? Because without karma yoga, there is no chance of neutralizing the raga dveshas. And unless this neutralization does not take place to a significant degree, there is no chance to gain knowledge through which all action is given up. Thus, taking to life of sannyasa without having dealt with your raga dveshas is meaningless. Giving up the doership. Now, tyaja dharmam adharmancha ubhe satyanrite tyaja ubhe satyanrite tyaktva yena tyajasi tat tyaja. Such beautiful verses we have. Give up dharma and adharma. Give up the concept of real and unreal. Having given up the concept of real and unreal, give up that by which you give up. So the one that needs to be given up is the ultimately even that I have given up everything. This ahankara also has to be given up. And this can only be done through knowledge. Actionlessness is not giving up action. It is not just not doing anything. Sannyasa does not guarantee moksha. Jnananishta, otherwise moksha is not achieved by merely becoming a sannyasi because karma yoga is also a means. Only by karma yoga can you become a real sannyasi. Only then is there a choice between karma yoga and sannyasa. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krita कार्यते ह्यवशः कर्म sarva prakriti jairgunaihi. Indeed, no one ever exists for even a second without performing action, because everyone being helpless is made to perform action by the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, born of prakriti. So basically, there is no person who can exist even for a second, now or later, without performing any action whatsoever. Young or old, no one exists without performing one action or the other at any time, even for the shortest period of time. It's a constant flux that is happening. Whether you are doing it voluntarily or involuntarily, there is action happening inside of you. Chalanatmakam karma. That is the definition of karma. So anything in the form of motion. And then if action is motion, then non-action, akarma, must be motionlessness and therefore naishkarmya. But is that right? Is that naishkarmya? Actionlessness? No. Which is non-doership through knowledge. That is actionlessness. So antakarna, the mind, is born of prakriti and has the same qualities of the prakriti, which are sattva, rajas, and tamas. Each of these qualities produce certain types of desire, the expressions of which can be classified according to each of these qualities. For instance, there are three types of giving: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. Tamasic is in expectation of a return, you give. And giving for the sake of pride is rajas. And giving because it must be done. And once done is forgotten, is born of sattva. So there is a clear distinction between the three gunas. And prompted by these desires, one performs action. In this way, all living beings are made to do action. There is no escaping it. A bug keeps moving because if it stays in one place, it risks getting squashed. Therefore, if you take sannyasa, it does not mean that you have gained sarva karma sannyasa. You have merely been absolved from certain duties. Giving up all action is a matter of knowing. When choosing between the two lifestyles, do not think that sannyasa is easy. There is activity in sannyasa also, just as there is in karma yoga. Which one is more appropriate for you depends upon your disposition. If you have raga dveshas, it is better to be a karma yogi. If, however, you find that you are contemplative and not interested in anything other than pursuing self-knowledge, then sannyasa will be suitable for you. This means that your life has been lived meaningfully and you are now ready for sannyasa. Only then should you become a sannyasi. Even so, Naishkarmya is equal only to knowledge. So, sannyasa does not directly mean you've attained moksha. You have to still attain that knowledge. So, Vividisha sannyasa needs to become a Vidvat sannyasa. Krishna then continued, Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudhatma mithyacharasa uchyate. The one who, controlling the organs of action, sits with the mind, remembering the sense objects, is deluded and is called a person of false conduct. So one who does not know that the nature of Atma is Naishkarmya, actionlessness, takes himself or herself to be a doer. When, as a doer, one gives up actions by will, his or her life is false. Mithya means false, and achara means conduct, and therefore mithyachara literally means false living. A person who does not know the Atma is a samsari with all the problems, inadequacies, and so on that a life of samsara implies. Giving up all activities, such a person cannot but dwell upon the sense objects towards which he or she no longer goes. So it's only merely controlling the organs of action, but the mind is still reeling with the sense objects. Vimudhatma, one who is deluded and confounded. Yes, then Krishna went on to describe the person who does not live in this way. Krishna told Arjuna that this type of living is false, and Shankara went so far as to say it is called sinful, papachara. That is, instead of enjoying the knowledge of Atma, the person will contemplate upon all the objects already experienced or on possible experience yet to come. So basically, instead of being an uh, instead of contemplating on oneself, he's contemplating on samsara. Instead of being antarmukhi, he is bahirmukhi. So how does a person who does not live in this way, who is not a vimudhatma, yastvindriyani manasa niyamyarabhaterjuna karmendriyai karma yogam asaktasya vishishyate. Whereas, O Arjuna, the one who, controlling the sense organs with the mind, is unattached and takes to the yoga of action, that is, action performed with yoga buddhi, with the organs of action, is far superior. So basically, Krishna is telling Arjuna, hey, listen, Arjuna, if you just want to take to sannyasa or take to the path of knowledge, because for you it seems it's easier, you are only being a mithyachara, vimudhatma. So instead, take to the life of karma yoga, having a say on your sense organs, and you perform action. This person is far superior. This we read 2 times further yesterday, day before. So I'm just going to go through action as a prayer. So whether it's Laukika or Vaidika, for a karma yogi, it makes no difference because any action is a prayer. Antakarana Shuddhi is for understanding Ishvara. Being not impelled by karma phala alone, interested only in Antakarana Shuddhi and Moksha, the karma yogi does what has to be done. The idea conveyed here is that technically, purification of the mind is a result of one's actions. But because purification of the mind is not born out of ragadvesha based action, it is not referred to as karma phala in the usual sense. The karma yogi has a certain control over his or her organs of action and sense organs. We use the word certain because even though the person is a karma yogi, there is still, he or she is still an ajna. Ajna is as an ignorant, one who's ignorant with reference to the self. Knowledge of the Lord is knowledge of oneself. And laziness and idleness. A lazy person is one who does nothing outwardly, but does everything mentally. He or she even writes letters mentally and then becomes annoyed when there is no reply. Whereas an idle person is one who is always busy without ever accomplishing anything. He or she creates all sorts of messes and then clears them up. Such a person has no time for anything and accomplishes nothing. I mean, this one paragraph really hit me hard because uh, I, I was just looking at what's going on in my mind when I related this paragraph to my life. I said, there's so much actually to be done versus undone. You know, if we are able to understand this one thing and redirect our minds, energies, our actions, our thoughts, it's a very it's like you're redirecting, you're taking the route not path, not the path not taken. It's like in the very beginning Swamiji was talking about the river going up the mountain rather than flowing its natural normal course down the mountain. So the path of moksha is that. So that mo, mo, moksho me bhuyat iti tivra ichha. Until and unless that is there, we will continue to be either a lazy or an idle person. Because the mind will be preoccupied with a lot of sense objects and um, there will be only a lot of things thinking in the mind, but no action, for instance. So what a karma yogi is one who does what is to be done. I'll give an example why I considered myself as this lazy person is that um, we're supposed to, I had a word with my CEO in the hospital, and then there came up this idea of, he said, okay, give me a proposal for yoga for the hospital. So that proposal is still going on in my mind. It has not come down to paper. So what has to be done has to be done. It is like I'm waiting for, I've asked a couple of people for inputs and it's still in the making. So I was, if it has to be done, it has to be done. So very often we get caught up in this cycle of having to do, but it is not really accomplished. It's not really, you're not doing it. I just wanted to share this example. And then idle person, we're doing from the time we wake up till the time we sleep. We're continuously doing something or the other. But each of those actions is a prayer. Are we accomplishing something? Are we accomplishing the neutralization of our raga dveshas? Or are we just mechanically doing things like, I think later Swamiji talks about, in the, what is that? Planetarium. There is something mechanical where each one is continuously moving, doing something or the other, a piston and, different contraptions. But what is the end achieved? Nothing. So unless we understand that, number one, life of, first of all, we understand the Purushartha, Moksha. Do we really want Purushartha, Moksha Purushartha? Or are we still caught up with Artha, Kama and Dharma? Are we still concerned about yoga and kshema? Are we still worried about our security from the outside world? Once we understand that, yes, this is what I want freedom from all of this. Of course, a mukshu is a dharmi. unless he is a dharmic person, he will not be a mumukshu. So he or she does follow the path of dharma, path of right conduct, right karma. But further cleansing, further understanding what this action is meant for, and doing what is to be done. In the very beginning, Swamiji talked about once, he says, the joy that you get when you do what is to be done is unparalleled. It could be even a small thing as cleaning up your shelf. You've been wanting to do it, but when you actually accomplish doing it, that joy is different from the joy that you get from artha and kama. So moment to moment, are we prioritizing what is to be done? And are we doing it with that attitude of karma yoga? Then we'll slowly be coming out of these clutches of being either a lazy or an idle person based on this definition that Swamiji has given. So because the karma yogi accomplishes everything, he or she is far superior. So being a karma yogi is also a very challenging, it's not easy. Sannyasa we think is easy. Sannyasa is very difficult because you need to have lived a life of karma yoga before taking up to sannyasa. But is living a life of karma yoga easy? And we have to look at lazy and idle person and see where are we. So being a true karma yogi, one person is sitting dwelling on things being lazy and the other person is active and has a karma yoga attitude. So the word vishishyate in this verse does not simply mean superior. To say that the karma yogi is far better does not mean that the mithyachara is good. The two are completely different. One person is sitting dwelling on things being lazy, and the other person is active and has a karma yoga attitude. Because the karma yogi accomplishes everything, he or she is far superior to the other person who is simply a hypocrite, not merely superior. There is no comparison at all. The karma yogi accomplishes the ultimate purushartha moksha, but the hypocrite achieves nothing, even in a relative sense. This being so, Krishna said, anyone wants to share anything before we go on to the next verse? Niyatam guru karma tvam karma jayo hyakarmanaha sharira yatra pichate na prasiddhyeda karmanaha. Tvam you, niyatam, what is to be done, karma, action, kuru, do. He, because akarmanaha, when compared to inaction, karma, action, jayaha, superior, akarmanaha, due to inaction, te, your, sharira yatra, maintenance of the body, api, even, cha, and na prasidhyate, would become impossible. So, tvam niyatam karma kuru. He akarmanaha karma jayaha. Akarmanaha te sharira yatra api cha na prasidhyate. Do action that is to be done because action is superior to inaction. And due to inaction, even the maintenance of your body would not become impossible. Actually, I was thinking there are two negatives here. Even the maintenance of your body would not become possible. I think there is a typo there.
Yeah, earlier you read it would become impossible.
Yeah,
Na prasadyat. Prasadyat.
correct.
The meaning it says would become impossible. Here it says would not become impossible. Right.
That is true. So, do action that is to be done because action is superior to inaction. And due to inaction, even the maintenance of your body would not become possible. We'll read it as would not become possible. The word niyatam refers to karma that is enjoined by the Shastra. By telling Arjuna to do those actions that are to be done, Krishna was not suggesting that the Shastra would always tell him what was to be done. There are, of course, many situations that the Shastra does not cover. But because every situation is a part of the given universal order, the situation itself dictates what is to be done. Thus, you need not be told that a particular action is to be done at a particular time. Given the situation, what is to be done becomes very obvious. The karma that is obvious in a given situation, that which is proper, is also niyata karma. It is niyata either by the order of dharma or because it is enjoined by the Shastra. In any case, it is the karma that must be done daily, occasionally, whenever. That is nitya karma, naimitika karma. Krishna told Arjuna to perform action because it is definitely superior to doing nothing. If you do not know the Atma and do not do karma either, nothing will be accomplished. Instead, all that will happen is that the body will become sick and the antakarna, the mind, will become even sicker. Thus, doing karma is definitely superior. The word Sharira Yatra in the verse refers to the journey of the living body. From birth onwards, it has been journeying. Even though it reaches certain stages, there are still stations to travel to, like a train that has not yet reached its destination. The journey of living, Krishna said here, does not take place if actions are not performed. You simply cannot live your life. Even mere survival is not possible. And by merely surviving, you are accomplishing nothing. So, the fact that karma needs to be done and not just doing karma, because just by merely surviving, you're accomplishing nothing. Life is not for mere survival. Even a frog manages to survive. Every living organism has the instinct for survival, and it does survive for as long as it can. Since anyone and anything can survive, survival is not considered to be a human accomplishment. Life, human life especially, is not just for surviving, it is for some accomplishment. This is why the fourfold Purusharthas, human ends, security, artha, pleasure, kama, righteousness, dharma, and liberation, moksha, are mentioned in the Shastra. Since there are these ends to be accomplished, we have various desires that impel us to attempt to fulfill them. To just survive, one must at least eat. There is a Swami who is said to be such a great sannyasi that he does not use his hands even for eating. However, he does open his mouth so that someone else can put the food in. Obviously, he does not understand that opening his mouth is an action and closing it is another action, to say nothing of chewing, swallowing, and preparing for the next mouthful. The same Swami will not talk either. He does nothing, and people call it Naishkarmya, which it is not. Isn't it? It is certainly not Naishkarmya. Even eating is not possible if you do no action. And to live, you have to get your food somehow. If you will not use your hands to eat, someone else has. When others have to cook your food and put it into your mouth, there is action. Earning the money to buy the food and materials needed to prepare it is also action. Since survival cannot possibly be without action, do what is to be done by you. I'll just repeat this one again. So, life is not meant for mere survival because every organism instinctively wants to survive. So, survival is not a human accomplishment. Human life is not just for surviving. That is why we have the fourfold Purusharthas, human ends. That is Artha, which is security, Kama, pleasure, Dharma, righteousness, and Moksha, liberation. So we have various desires based on the Purushartha we are following. To just survive, one must at least eat. And in order to eat, you have to get the material, buy the material, cook it. All this implies action. Since survival cannot possibly be without action, do what is to be done by you. By telling Arjuna to perform action, Krishna was telling him not to be afraid of action. Arjuna's problem was that his karma was the cause of his being bound. When you do karma, you produce punya and papa. And because of this, you are born again. Again, you will perform karmas, which again produce punya and papa, because of which you will be born yet again. This is why karma is said to be the villain in the life of samsara. Because karma alone is the cause for your being bound, you conclude that you should not do karma, which is what Krishna is saying is a wrong understanding. Because actionlessness, naishkarmya, is not just being inactive, because there is no way you can stay without doing any action, voluntarily or involuntarily. It is only knowledge that exhausts, that liberates. And in order to gain that knowledge, you have to create a mind that is ready to receive that knowledge. And that mind, that Shuddha, that pure mind, is gained by neutralizing raga dveshas. And how do we neutralize raga dveshas? By doing action. Just by merely being inactive, you are accomplishing nothing. Refer to that lazy person versus the idle person. So, just doing karma is not important. Doing karma with a karma yoga attitude. And karma yoga implies both the things, karma as well as pursuing knowledge. Just by doing karma with a karma yoga attitude is not going to get you anywhere. It is not just simple samatva. Karmas are inexhaustible. The cycle of life can be looked at through the model of karma. But if we do so, the model must be taken in its entirety. Suppose you say that by not doing any karma at all, there will be no problem. No punya, no papa, and therefore no more birth and death. The cessation of the cycle of birth and death is what is meant by liberation, moksha. Therefore, by not doing anything, you will accomplish moksha. Let others study the Gita. You do not need it because by doing nothing, you can gain moksha. To this, Shankara replies elsewhere by asking further questions. He asks, what about all the karmas standing in your account from previous births? Sanchita karmas. Who is going to fulfill them, even if you do nothing in this birth? Secondly, when did you decide not to do any more karma? Until you were 40 years old, all you did was karma. What about that karma? It also must be fulfilled. Furthermore, can you remain for even the briefest period of time without performing karma? When you have the I am a doer notion, you cannot but do karma. In fact, you cannot remain for even a second without performing some action or the other. And if you are not occupied with doing right karma, it will take you no time at all to do wrong karma. Hmm.
So it's only the doership which,
Yeah.
it is.
Not doing karma, therefore, is nothing but a pipe dream. There is no such thing as gaining moksha by not doing karma. Of course, karma is the cause for you being bound. No one ever said that karma liberates. Karma definitely binds the jiva. In fact, it is the third strand of a three-stranded knot. Ignorance is the first strand. Ignorance in the form of the notion, I am a doer. Once this ignorance born notion is there, you cannot avoid the second strand, desire or karma. If you think that you are small, limited, and mortal, you will want to be big, full, immortal. All these are desires. Because you do not want to be limited by ignorance, limited by the knowledge that you have limited knowledge, you do not accept ignorance. This means that you want to be free of the limitation of knowledge and ignorance, which is another desire. There is also the desire to be happy, to be free from unhappiness, inadequacy, or lack. These desires arise because you do not know that you are already full. When this ignorance is there, desires will also be there. And of course, they will be according to your limited knowledge. Therefore, even your wants are not very big. You may want this and that, but they're all small wants, really. Then, in order to fulfill these wants, you perform karma, which produces the punya and papa that create new births for you. Given this ignorance, desire, action cycle, you remain bound by karma. So beautifully explained how the the granthis, three granthis, the three primary knots that bind us in samsara. One is ignorance of oneself, and therefore, because you feel you are insecure, there is a desire to become secure, and that desire impels you to do karma, and that karma gives you punya and papa. And then when you gain punya papa, you have to exhaust them. Therefore, you take another birth, another birth. Therefore, this cycle of ignorance, desire, karma will not end unless the primary knot, which is ignorance, is dealt with. That is why it is only through knowledge, that is the last step for moksha, for liberation. I will just repeat these few paras and then we can stop for Manana. So the life cycle can be looked at through the model of karma, but if you do so, the model must be taken in its entirety. Suppose you say that you're not doing any karma at all, there will be no problem. No punya, no papa, therefore no birth or death. The cessation of the cycle of birth and death is what is called moksha. Therefore, by not doing anything, you will accomplish moksha. Let others study the Gita. You do not need it because by doing nothing, you can gain moksha. This is one argument. Saying by not doing anything, you gain moksha. Because you're not gaining punya and papa. But to this, Shankara asks, but what about all those karmas standing in your previous births, sanchita karmas? Who is going to fulfill them, even if you do nothing in this birth? Secondly, when did you decide not to do any more karma? Until you were 40 years old, all you did was karma. What about that karma? It also must be fulfilled. Furthermore, can you remain for even the briefest period of time without performing karma? When you have the I am a doer notion, you cannot but do karma. In fact, you cannot remain for even a second without performing some action or the other. And if you are not occupied with doing right karma, it will take you no time at all to do wrong karma. That is why Karma Yoga says do what is to be done. That is what is to be done is the right karma. By not doing karma, therefore, it is nothing but a pipe dream. There is no such thing as gaining moksha by not doing karma. Of course, karma is the cause for you being bound. No one ever said that karma liberates. Karma definitely binds the jiva. In fact, it is the third strand of a three-stranded knot. Ignorance being the first strand, ignorance in the form of the notion, I am a doer. And what is contrary to this is that Atma is a non-doer. That is what is our ignorance. We think we are the doer, and therefore we also suffer, enjoy or suffer. Once this ignorance-born notion is there, you cannot avoid the second strand, desire or karma. If you think that you are small, limited, and mortal, you will want to be big, full, immortal. All these are desires. Because you do not want to be limited by ignorance, limited by the knowledge that you have limited knowledge, you do not accept ignorance. This means that you want to be free of the limitation of knowledge and ignorance, which is another desire. There is also the desire to be happy, to be free from unhappiness, inadequacy, or lack. These desires arise because you do not know that you are already full. When this ignorance is there, desires will also be there. And of course, they will be according to your limited knowledge. Therefore, even your want, that is why Gurudev says, if you desire big, seek the highest. Don't seek small little pleasures here and there. You may want this and that, but they're all small wants really. Then, in order to fulfill these wants, you perform karma, which produces the punya and papa that create new births for you. Given this ignorance, desire, action cycle, you remain bound by karma. We'll stop here. Let's all close our eyes and then reflect on what we have listened and understood. And let's all share. There's only one para left. Let me just read this one para so we can start from verse 9 tomorrow. Karma Yoga releases you from the hold of raga dveshas. The same karma, however, while not itself a releasing factor, can assist in one's release if it is done with the attitude of karma yoga, as we have seen. By performing karma in this way, one is released from the hold of raga dveshas likes and dislikes. Therefore, the same karma becomes a means, a sadhana. In the next few verses, the karma done in this way is being referred to as yajna. It becomes yoga and one gains shuddha antakarana, a pure mind. With this pure mind, the person gains the knowledge that is moksha. This then is the order. Beginning with the next verse and ending with the 16th verse, Krishna then talked about karma as a means leading to moksha. Very beautiful. Yeah, let's all share our understanding. No wonder Krishna is called Jagat Guru, because he is so beautifully explaining the whole thing to Arjuna. Arjuna says, seemingly, you are giving me a seemingly contradictory statement. And that's so beautifully, Krishna is teasing it out and opening it up layer by layer and saying, hey, listen, there are two lifestyles, sannyasa and karma yoga. For you, karma yoga is required. Why? Because you're still reeling with raga dveshas. In order to neutralize them, there's no choice for you but to do action. And
They talked
merely
about
sitting,
the ashramas, right? And he was in Ragastha ashrama, and for him to become sannyasi, and
yeah,
he had to go through so much of
mm,
clearance.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, see, why is all this required? Because this arguments and counter arguments are required because sometimes we ourselves at the seat of contemplation, we may get these
Right.
pratibandhakas, these obstacles. Oh, why should
We
I do
have to.
anything?
Right.
Why should I read the Gita? Why should I go to the Shastra? Why should I read the follow knowledge? I just do
Mm.
nothing, right? So it might crop up that obstacle. And in order to clear up that,
Yeah.
see,
Especially when you
until and
know
unless you,
the karmas causes the punya and papa, and that accumulates the um, next life, cause for next life. So
yeah,
then, how we get rid of raga, dveshas, desires, all that is uh,
mm.
explode here. So it become a sadhana, like he says, that is a sadhana.
So we act not for punya and papa, not
Mm,
because we want punya and because we are afraid of papa. A
mm,
karma yogi is one who does action because it has to be done
right. And
with that
also
proper
that
attitude of a yajna.
mm, Ishvara is the is result of action.
Then the whole life itself becomes so joyful, right? It's an expression of joy
Mhm.
because you're not living for joy. You're not doing things out of joy. For joy. You're living a life out of joy. You're already happy, but yet
Mhm.
you are acting. Yet you're going about doing things. Why? Because these raga dveshas it's like a thousand-headed serpent.
Mm,
You never know where that rasa is still lingering on. So, in order to neutralize all of that, in order to clear that antakarana, so that becomes crystal clear for that knowledge to shine forth. Therefore, action is superior to in action. We'll stop here. Karma yoga leads to moksha, Laveen says. It neutralizes raga dvesha. It may be indirectly through karma, may free us. It may be indirectly though. Karma may free us from a different um, or same desire which we are. I didn't understand. It may be indirectly. Karma may free us from a different or same desire which we are performing for.
Uh, Didi, I mean, like if we have a desire and we performing karma for that, so it may not be necessarily that we get freedom from the same desire, maybe, but during the process we might get like free from some other desires which we had, like during the process.
Yeah. Like, can you give an example of what you wanted to mention?
Like supposing we are teaching a program and with maybe some desire of like helping someone, but during the process our other things also get released while we are teaching, our own like things that maybe certain maybe certain ragas and dveshas which were there with us, they are also released and we get freedom from that, from them.
Of course,
Yeah.
really. Very true. For instance, teaching, if you're, I think most of us here are art of living teachers here. So, teaching itself is an action. But when you're doing that during the course of, say, organizing a course, dealing with your co teachers, there are so many things that come up, so many situations where your raga dveshas are put on the plate, right? So, going beyond them, neutralizing them, living the life of a karma yogi all these are beautiful situations. Going out and dealing with people. Because otherwise, if you're sitting in your own shell, you're not interacting with people, how, where and how are they going to be neutralized? Because you never know which situation, which raga dvesha comes up. So
Yeah.
until and unless you go out there and interact, you don't know. You can't say, "Oh, I'm all very neutral. I'm happy. I have neutralized my raga dveshas." Let there be a situation, some unique situation that comes up, and then you'll see where that rasa of the raga and dvesha comes up. So therefore, what you said is right. You're taking up an action, but in the process of accomplishing that, there may be small other little actions that help you neutralize your raga dveshas.
Yes, Didi. Thank you.
We'll stop here, or we went way beyond time. So tomorrow we'll do verse 9. If you wish, tomorrow I'm not sure who will be able to read. We could go through verse 8 one more time and then go to 9. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev. Just wanted to share that it's not just us that are following Gita and all that. I was reading, there's so many sports stars, sports women that follow Bhagavad Gita and Mahabharata. I was just listening to someone shared, Swami Mitrananda shared a reel about how Smriti Mandana, the Indian cricketer, was she follows Bhagavad Gita. She listens to Mahabharata. After a failure in a match, she just comes and puts on some episodes of Mahabharata. So there are a lot of karma yogis out there. A second, I'll play this.
Meditation is accepting this moment, living every moment totally with depth. Let us keep our spine erect and body relaxed and eyes closed. Relax your shoulders. Keep a big smile on your face. You're sitting like the statue of Buddha, very serene and with a serene smile on your face. Relax your body. Let's take a deep breath in and breathe out. Become aware of your chest region, throat and chest region. If you notice some tension in the body, just let it be. Accept those parts of the body where you feel a tension. The other parts are in comfort. Other parts are at peace. Become aware of that also. There are many good things about you and inside of you. Acknowledge them. They will never leave you. And the negative aspect you may see in you is never going to stay with you forever. They are all guests for some time. Let them be. Sit with the total acceptance of yourself the way you are at this very moment. Total acceptance of what is now here will lead us to deeper meditation. Let go of all the efforts. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let go of all your effort and be in this emptiness. And slowly and gradually become aware of body and surroundings. And you may gently open your eyes.